I'm a little bit of I guess, an odd fellow to be joining y'all this morning. My background is in visual design. I had a consultancy where we did mobile UI design work and basically web design for startups and large software companies. Somehow out of that I got into just basically mobile design, and then eventually we started building our own products. But one of the things that my company was always known for were the little icons, the little graphics that we did. And we got known on the web to the point that people just started collecting our work. And we began to ask ourselves, well, people like collecting the little graphics that we're doing. What can we do with that? And what can we encourage people to? What sort of activity can they do in order to collect these? Early on, it manifested itself in games that we were building on Facebook, and after a while, we kind of got frustrated with that a little bit and thought, this is great that people are actually sitting down and spending, hours of their day in front of a computer playing a game to collect these little works of art, but frankly, we wanted people to be doing more. And that led us to build Gowalla. And so Gowalla is basically a service that inspires people to go out and explore and share the world. It manifests itself as a social network, both on a phone and on the web. And we're looking for other ways through activism, through events, through meetups, to encourage people to go out and explore. But the origin of the idea was fairly startling. I was actually up in Lake Tahoe almost 2 years ago. Again, this is kind of when we were dabbling in Facebook games, and I was sitting on the lake and I was watching. This is literally a photo I took on my iPhone, which is, I turned it to black and white, but it's pretty impressive that an iPhone can actually shoot a photo like that. I was watching the clouds rolling off the lake there at Tahoe, and I had this moment of, I wish I could capture this and share it with my friends. And yeah, I had Facebook, and yeah, I had Twitter, but I wanted like the credit of I was at Lake Tahoe at this moment, when this moment of beauty happened, and almost as if I could stamp a passport, if you will, and say this is where I was on this moment in time. Here are my thoughts. Here's my journal of that time. Here's the photo that I took, and now I'm going to share that with my dad or share that with my friends. And it got me thinking about a European vacation that my mom took when she was in college. On that vacation, she actually amassed a charm bracelet. And if you're familiar, it's basically a sterling silver bracelet. In every city she visited over the course of 2 months, she collected a new charm. So there was a windmill for Amsterdam. There was a little boy doing a cartwheel for Dusseldorf. And I remember as a child, she would go through all these charms and tell me about the different cities that she had visited. And it wasn't so much that the charm bracelet in and of itself had inherent value, as that each one of those charms was a token, was a memory of that place and that point in life. And it kind of occurred to me that we've lost that a little bit, especially my generation as a society. We're not collectors. We don't slap, stickers on suitcases as we travel anymore. And I began to think, how can we recreate that, in a social environment? Now we have, this is the time that the iPhone had just added location services, and there was the ability with technology that we could build this. And so I actually sketched what a passport might look like on an iPhone with this idea of, if I'm checking in at Muir Woods and Heavenly and the Golden Gate Bridge, and I mapped it all out. And then I could sit down with my friends and say, here's my weekend journey. So I took this back to my co-founder, Scott, and within a couple weeks, he actually had a working prototype. It was sketchy, but we decided we've got something here. Let's roll with it. And so we went back and basically we rolled this thing out to an empty community and said, okay, go build something with it. Go add your favorite places. And over the last year and a half since we launched, our community of about 500,000 people has gone out and checked in at 1.8 million places around the world in 170 countries. And we had no place data when we started. We didn't license that. We didn't go out and buy it. We just said, go add your own places. And people added them everywhere, including someone who broke into the Giant Stadium before it opened in order to create the spot at the 50-yard line. And this is when we began to realize that the power of the community to self-organize, to go out and add and share their favorite places was rather remarkable. The other thing we quickly noted is that a lot of the activity that Gowalla was seeing was around events. And sporting events were one of the big ones. concerts and the like. These are actually some examples of the passport stamps. Each one of these are hand illustrated, but these are all the major football stadiums in the United States. This is where, again, we see a lot of our activity around large gatherings of people. Here are the baseball stadiums, and then here, let's see if the remote is working, are a bunch of international airports. So again, these are the types of places that, and just examples of again, these stamps that are being added to Gowalla, being shared on Facebook, being shared on Twitter. The other thing that began to emerge is that people were adding unusual events, things that we hadn't expected before. So not just the sporting events, but basically volunteering events around parks, fundraisers, the like. And let's see. One of the more interesting ones that showed up in Austin is this thing called Eeyore's birthday party. One morning I wake up in Austin, I opened my phone, and we had this concept in Gowalla known as a hotspot. So when a certain number of people check into a location, that spot gets on fire, it goes to the top of the list, and anyone nearby can actually see what's going on. So again, as Joe mentioned, if you all get Gowalla out right now and you check in at AMP Summit, we can put this place on fire and everybody in DC will see it. And so you can grab it for your BlackBerry or your iPhone. But Eeyore's birthday party is this hippie event in Austin. And it had gone to the top of the list, and turns out hundreds of people have checked in there, and we're uploading sketchy photos of themselves, and they have this giant statue of Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh dressed as the Statue of Liberty, and this is Eeyore's birthday party. And that's when the light bulb hit, oh my gosh, like people are doing crazy stuff with this that I never expected. Like here, a bunch of hippies self-organized, created a Gowalla event, and are now celebrating Eeyore's birthday party. We saw this begin to manifest itself with Live Strong Race Days. A few months ago, I was in San Francisco and I got stuck in a traffic jam. And I opened up Gowalla and I'm like, why am I not making it to the airport? And I realized it's the Pride Parade. That's the top trending spot on Gowalla as everybody is checking in downtown, and it had clogged traffic. And then a few weeks ago, we were contacted by a fellow in Norway, and he said, I've got a music festival. We're big fans over here. Can you create a custom stamp for our music festival? So we said, sure. We had no idea that weekend almost 400 people checked in at this random music festival in Oslo that we'd never heard of. And this is when we're realizing, wow, something's happening, something going on here that we weren't expecting. And one of the more interesting ones as of late is Tom's Shoes and AT&T approached us a few months back and said, we're coming up on our 1 millionth shoe. If you're not familiar with Tom's Shoes, they give away a pair of shoes for everyone that's purchased. And they said, how can we use Gowalla to basically raise awareness of what's happening? And AT&T said, we're going to pay for 1,000 pair of Tom's Shoes to be given away for people who go out and who check in at either shoe retailers where Tom's are sold or AT&T stores, so they can learn more about this. And so over the course of a 2-week campaign that started about a month ago, there we go. 1,000 pairs of shoes were given away on Gowalla, and over 5,500 people checked in, again, at either shoe retailers. 2,000 of those people checked in at AT&T retail stores. One of the more interesting things is when people checked in, they're able to share this from Facebook and Twitter. Over 25% of those people pushed those out. When it was all said and done, over 500,000 people were reached with this message about Tom's Shoes. And one Gowalla user and her brother actually won a trip to go down with Blake Makowski from Tom's to be a part of that millionth shoe drop. And my buddy Andy and I were able to go down and be a part of that as well. That's a life-changing event. I was recently brought to my attention that only 28% of Americans have passports. And I think that anything that we can do to encourage people to connect with the world around us is amazing. I guess in closing, there are 3 events that I think kind of define social media for this generation. One, of course, is the Obama campaign. These are like crystal clear glass moments where the value of these services is evident. The Obama election, the Iran election and how it took over on Twitter, people coloring their user avatars green to raise awareness of the service. And then the most simple thing, I think, is the texting $10 to Haiti that happened after the earthquake. That didn't even involve a social network. Anybody with a dumb phone could open up and text Haiti, and $10 was donated. And I think these are the types of things that we're going to see, happen more of as time goes on. I guess in closing, location services like Gowalla, we've seen hippie conventions and music festivals. Now we're starting to work with more and more politicians and activism campaigns like Tom's. The formative event that the Iran election or the text to Haiti has not occurred yet in our industry, and I think that's what we're excited to see, and we hope we're ready when it does. So thanks for having me here.
Thanks, Josh. That was great.